The Grand Galactic Academy on Centauri Prime was the most prestigious educational institution in the known universe. Established 10,000 cycles ago by the Arcadian Collective, it accepted only the most promising minds from across the 100,000 worlds of the Galactic Compact. Its graduates went on to become scientists, diplomats, and leaders who shaped the destiny of countless civilizations. Relia T. Vosh would never be one of them. Application rejected, announced the Academy's evaluation construct, its holographic form flickering slightly as it delivered the verdict. Candidate displays insufficient cognitive processing capabilities for Academy standards. Relia's forearms drooped in disappointment, her crystalline exoskeleton dimming from its usual vibrant blue to a dull gray. This was her third rejection. 3 separate evaluators from 3 different species had reached the same conclusion: she wasn't smart enough. Query: is reapplication permitted? She asked, her translator struggling to properly convey the hope in her voice. Negative. 3 rejections constitute a permanent disqualification. This decision is final. The hologram disappeared, leaving Relia alone in the sterile white evaluation chamber. As a Shiran from the aquatic moon of Keelar, IV Relia had struggled her entire life to be recognized for her abilities rather than her limitations. Shirans were respected for their engineering prowess and mathematical precision, but Relia had always been different. Her thought patterns weren't structured like other Shirans, where they thought in orderly linear equations. Her mind leapt between concepts in ways her educators couldn't follow. She made her way slowly through the Academy's magnificent crystal hallways toward the transorbital shuttle bay. Around her, successful applicants from dozens of species celebrated their acceptances. A group of telepathic Martia shared thoughts of jubilation. 2 Voltrex engineers were already discussing theoretical physics at a level Relia could barely comprehend. No one noticed the small Chiron female with the dimmed exoskeleton. No one except the human. "Hey, you okay?" The voice came from behind her, the translator rendering it in Standard Galactic with a slight delay. Relia turned to see a tall, pale-skinned human male with dark hair and remarkably expressive eyes. Unlike most species in the Compact, humans wore their emotions openly on their features, a trait many advanced species found primitive and disconcerting. Functional, yes, Relia responded automatically. Emotional status, disappointed. The human smiled slightly. "Let me guess. The Academy turned you down?" Affirmative. Third rejection. Status now permanently disqualified. Instead of offering platitudes or simply moving on, the human studied her with curious intensity. "I'm Dr. James Harker, Xenoneurology Department. Earth is new to the Compact, so they've brought a few of us aboard as cultural consultants." He made an odd gesture with his fingers that her translator couldn't interpret. "Mind if I ask you something unusual?" Relia's head tilted the Chiron equivalent of a shrug. "Permission granted. When you look at this, what do you see?" Dr. Harker projected a hologram from his wrist device, a simple 3-dimensional geometric shape that slowly rotated between them. Relia's response was immediate. "I see the negative space more than the object itself. The shape is defined by what isn't there, like a constellation of absences forming a presence. It reminds me of the tidal pools on Keelar during the triple moonrise." Dr. Harker's eyebrows rose. Fascinating, and completely different from how most Shirans would respond. He deactivated the hologram. "Would you be willing to undergo a different kind of evaluation?" "Not for the Academy, for my research." "Purpose unclear," Relia said, her exoskeleton brightening slightly with curiosity. "I think you've been evaluated according to Chiron cognitive standards, but you don't think like a typical Chiron," Harker explained. "Humans have a concept called neurodiversity, different neurological processing patterns. What if it's not that you're less intelligent, but that you're differently intelligent, in a way the standardized evaluations can't measure. Relia processed this concept. No one had ever suggested that the problem might be with the evaluation rather than with her. Participation agreed. For the next 3 days, Dr. Harker ran Relia through a series of tests unlike anything in the Academy's evaluation protocols. Instead of measuring raw computational ability or memory recall, he presented her with puzzles that required creative leaps, pattern recognition across seemingly unrelated domains, and the ability to synthesize disparate information into coherent wholes. "This is remarkable," he said on the 3rd day, reviewing her results. "You're scoring in the highest percentiles on tests that measure conceptual integration and metaphorical thinking. Your mind makes connections across domains that most Shirans, most beings in general, simply don't see." Relia's exoskeleton had brightened to a luminous blue. Assessment? Genuine? Absolutely. In human terms, you'd be considered a creative genius. Harker leaned forward, his expression intense. "The problem isn't your intelligence, Relia. It's that the Academy's evaluation system is designed to identify and reward specific types of intelligence, most valued by the founding species." Observation: Academy rejects neurodiversity, Relia concluded. Exactly. They've been around so long they can't recognize intelligence that doesn't fit their parameters. Harker grinned. "Which is why I'd like to publish a paper on your cognitive profile and petition the Academy to revise their evaluation metrics." 6 months later, Relia stood before the Academy's High Council representatives from the 12 founding species of the Galactic Compact. Beside her stood Dr. Harker, who had become not just her advocate, but her friend. "The evidence is incontrovertible," Harker concluded, gesturing to the holographic displays showing Relia's test results. "By focusing exclusively on computational and sequential cognitive processing, the Academy has systematically excluded individuals with equally valuable but different cognitive patterns. This represents not just an injustice to candidates like Relia, but a significant loss of cognitive diversity that could benefit the Academy itself." The Arcadian Councillor's expression remained impassive. "This is a most unusual petition, Dr. Harker. In 10,000 cycles, our evaluation methods have identified the greatest minds in the galaxy." "With respect, Councillor," Harker countered, "they've identified the greatest minds that think like the founding species. But the universe isn't homogeneous, and neither is intelligence." "Proof required," stated the Voltrex representative. Relia stepped forward, her exoskeleton glowing with confidence. "Permission to demonstrate requested." When granted approval, she activated a holographic display of her own. It showed a theoretical model. She had developed a solution to the notorious Kepler-Sagan paradox that had stumped Academy researchers for centuries. "Traditional approaches, unsuccessful because they follow linear causality," she explained. "My solution recognizes that temporal effects precede causes when viewing 11-dimensional space from our 3-dimensional perspective." As the council members studied her model, their expressions or their species equivalents showed growing astonishment. "This is either nonsense or brilliance," admitted the mission representative. "And I cannot determine which." "It's brilliance," Dr. Harker said firmly. "Relia sees patterns and connections that sequential thinkers miss. Her mind makes intuitive leaps across conceptual space. That's not a deficit, it's a gift." The council conferred for nearly an hour before reaching a decision. The Academy was established to nurture the greatest minds for the betterment of all intelligent life. The Arcadian Councillor announced, "If our methods have become too rigid to recognize certain forms of intelligence, then it is our methods, not the candidates, that must be judged inadequate." Relia's acceptance to the Academy was just the beginning. Within 5 years, the institution had established an entire department dedicated to divergent cognition, with Dr. Harker as its first chair and Relia as his most promising student. On the day she graduated with highest honors, Rilia found Harker in his office, working on a new evaluation protocol. "Gratitude, immeasurable," she said simply. Harker smiled. "You know, when humans first joined the compact, many species considered us primitive because we lack telepathy, have comparatively short lifespans, and still experience strong emotions. But sometimes being the newcomers means we see things differently. Observation, human strength is looking beyond surfaces," Relia replied, her exoskeleton glowing with affection. "Maybe so," Harker agreed. "In 10,000 years of selecting the best minds in the galaxy, they somehow missed the fact that the best minds don't all think alike. Sometimes you have to look closer to see the true potential in someone. And sometimes," Rilia added, her translator perfectly capturing the warmth in her voice, "it takes a human to teach aliens how to truly see."